was important for us to live here in the village because I think it's a safer place for the children. There's more of a community feel, so you kind of know your neighbours and people are, you know, sort of around the area. But it also means that Ethan is going to meet people, he can go out, he can play, he's not going to be stuck in the house, and it's safer to send him out to play. But it's important for me because I like living, I was brought up in this area, and I like living here, and I think that's the biggest thing. We're happy. It's important to us to live close to where we work. As my husband's a chef, he works in social hours, and we actually do only have one car between us. So for him to finish work at 11 o'clock at night to be able to get home is obviously very important. Also with the rise of petrol at the moment, it's an expensive game driving a car, so to live nearer to where we work again saves money on petrol, which gives us more money free in the household. I work just up the road as well, and it means that I'm not spending half an hour in the car. That's half an hour taken away from playing with Ethan or spending time with him. But yeah, the biggest factor is with my husband, and being able to get home on sociable hours. Other ways living here has really helped me. We suffered, my dad died last year very quickly, unfortunately. He was diagnosed with cancer in April and died in June. My mum and dad live in the village along from here, and just being in this village now, it means I'm closer to my mum. It was we were in a lot of turmoil last year, and we were living quite a way away from where my mum lives. We're a very close family, so to be able to move here, I can't tell you, it's just up the road from my mum. We couldn't afford a private rent in Kingsbury due to our income, so when the opportunity came up to move here, it was a godsend for me because it means I can fit in, going to work, looking after Ethan, my husband working, but just being able to spend time with my mum, and if anything happens I can get to my mum in 5 minutes rather than half an hour. What I like about my new home, what I don't like would be the question to ask. I love it. It's from the French doors that lead out onto the garden, to the brightness of the house, the size of the houses. It means Ethan and his half brother that we have sort of at the weekends, they've got a nice big room. We're right next to a sports field. We've got a park at the back of the house. We couldn't really ask for any more, but no, I love this house. It's been a real godsend for us, really. I definitely agree that there should be more houses in rural areas that are like this. If it wasn't for this development, these houses, we would probably still be living with my mum at the moment, because we can't afford to. We can't afford private rent, we couldn't afford a mortgage. And again, that's not down to us, that's the fact that we're both still working, you know, we've just got low income. But there are so many people that are in our position now that just everybody's working, but the wages don't meet the price of life. They don't, and I couldn't afford a month's mortgage is actually more than my salary. So if it wasn't for this, we would still be with my mum, and I think there's a lot of people, I know a lot of people that are in this situation. Private landlords, again, they can charge whatever they like, and then they can give you notice and leave. And when you've got children, you need stability. And again, I can work all the hours I can, but it's not going to give me enough income to get a mortgage. I do think there is an attitude and a stigma against housing association houses, definitely. I get it myself whenever I tell people that I live in a housing association house, that you do feel that sometimes you have to justify why you live there. You have to explain that you both work, you feel like you have to explain that you're both working, not on benefits. You've just got low incomes, which is again not our fault. But I think there is a big stigma, and whenever you mention housing association, people do expect a certain type of person to move into that house, and it's not anymore. It's not. People as I said, the majority of people that need to live in these houses are people that are working, they've got children, they've got families, and they just can't afford to private rent or a mortgage. It's just two way out now. But yes, and I think that attitude needs to change. I've never been on benefits in my life. My husband has once, you know, but we're both working. He works 50 odd hours a week, I work 18, so I can't do any more at work. Yeah, there is a stigma, but we hope to change that. I'd say to anybody, the councils or the districts that are looking at rural housing, more affordable housing for people, is please do it. There are a lot of people struggling out there with families that are trying their hardest, and with the way that society is at the moment with the incomes, people can't afford to live. And why should somebody like myself, who's lived in a village all my life, why should I have to be forced to move into inner city when I've never been round there? You know, this is my home. Just because, why should I be forced to live there just because I can't afford it? That's then changing society, and that's bringing back the whole let's build a council estate somewhere and put everybody who's in benefits, which is how it used to be, but it's not now. So please, there are people out there, they've just got low income, that's all. I would love Ethan to have the opportunity to live in the rural areas rather than in the city. My husband used to live in Bristol, right in the middle of it, and he would say the same, that he would prefer Ethan to grow up out here. You've got smaller schools, everybody knows everybody, not so much as so that you're in each other's business all the time, but you know that if something goes wrong you can knock next door and there is that somebody there to help you. You know, there's fields for them to play. We have the water park right across you know, the edge of the village. We have fields. It means the children are out more, and he's going to be outside playing with other children, building relationships, rather than sitting inside and playing on the Xbox, or because I can't stand that. I think, like we just said, the benefits of having more people move in who are families, you know, that means the local shops in the villages, they get more custom, which it can only help them, because we don't bother sort of I know you can't say this, one of the shops in the village, there isn't another big supermarket sort of within walking distance, so it is the local shops. We have hairdressers, a couple of pubs, you know, and at the end of the day, if it wasn't for these houses bringing new life into the villages, then again, it is elderly people and they're not always going to want to use the shops. But it's not also that you're building houses, so that means you're taking on local people to do the building work, I hope, and to do all the planning, and I don't know, it can only be a good thing. It's bringing people in to use. We often quite walk up to the village at Kingsbury, into the local shop, put him in his little trike and take a walk, which again is bringing exercise into you know, healthier living into it. But it can only be a good thing if you're bringing people in, instead of moving them all into the town centres where there's lots of people already and there's lots of the supermarkets or the big established stores. Here the community here, they still have the little milkman, the little float that comes round, and he sells bread and milk and quite a few things. He wouldn't be able to continue if there wasn't any more, because we actually spoke to him the other day and he was saying that, you know, custom has dropped off, but with more developments like this and more people giving him orders, it's going to help him as well to keep his business afloat. We have internet here with the telephone. It's underground cabling, and we've not had any problems. We have a home computer which we use Skype for. So my sons can see his brother, can see his nan, his granddad who lives in Bristol, and his uncles. We Skype them quite a lot, and we've not really had any problems with internet. I use it to check my work emails, and if need to I can do a little bit of work from here. My husband has an Xbox which he connects up. Again, we also use the Xbox to speak to his dad and his brothers in Bristol. So yeah, we don't really have any problems with internet. It's just the same as it was where we lived before. Well, yes, we went to Waterloo for the same thing, and they advised us to go back onto the U2's website. So we went back onto the U2's website. Darling, go over there. And we filled in what our reasons were for moving, which was, again, was working too far, unable to get a job in the area that we were living in for Alex, and it was costing us a fortune with petrol. He's a chef, so it's unsociable hours, which meant, as we only have the one car, getting Ethan out of bed at 11 o'clock at night. So we eventually got abandoned from the council, which was a band 4, so we then appealed against it because, yes, we weren't in a dire straits situation, but we could have been if we'd have continued as we were. We had a lady from the credit union come out. She did a financial statement with us, and she also agreed that yes, although we weren't in debt at the time, a couple more months spending the money that we were on petrol, we would have been. We didn't go out, we didn't have holidays because we couldn't afford it, because everything else was just being based on petrol. And so because of that, we were then moved to a band 2, and these properties here came up with Waterloo. So we bidded on them, and after a while, yeah, we finally were allocated one, and it was just amazing. I'm 10 minutes from where I work, my husband's 10 minutes from where he works. He can get home without me having to go and pick him up. We've moved into a lovely community where they do things for the children. They have a play scheme for the children that's run by the community. We have a park at the back of the house, a big field. They do judo for the children. It was just really important for us to stay out in the countryside. I was brought up in the village next to where we are now, and we couldn't afford, as much as I wanted to live there, we couldn't afford it. But we've been allocated this house with Waterloo, and it's fabulous. It's just up the road from my mum and dad, and I just say to anybody, you know, if you're thinking of houses to build in your area, then please, it's a good thing, and it's not the stigma, it's not the attitude of people that you think it's going to be anymore. It's people who they are working, they want to work, they just haven't got good paid jobs that match everything. But we love it here. We're really, really happy, and it's just made everything. It really has. We've now got more of a family life. We actually have got the time to spend together, to go over the fields and play with the boys, you know, go for a walk. It's just, yeah, I'm close to my mum as well, and being a very close family, that was important to us. My husband's from inner city, he didn't like it, and he's really pleased to have moved here. We were over, I can't tell you how happy we were when we were allocated this house. It was just amazing, and it's just made a whole difference to us, really.